Nigel was 9 years old. He went with his friend Tom and Tom's dad to play cricket in the park, just a short distance from home. After the game, on their way home, they had to cross the road at the pedestrian lights. The boys began crossing on the walk signal. A car was already stationary at the crossing when an approaching vehicle travelling well in excess of the speed limit along a suburban street braked suddenly to avoid the stationary vehicle and careered out of control. It smashed along 10 metres of safety rail, a section which finished up going from the front of the car right through the rear. The driver also demolished 2 sets of traffic lights before hitting Nigel, full force, from the back. The driver of the crashed vehicle was a 49-year-old male returning home from the pub. His blood alcohol limit was slightly over the limit. The front end of his car was smashed and Nigel lay trapped beneath. The first that Nigel's parents knew anything was wrong was when Tom's father rushed to the house to tell them Nigel's been hurt. Nigel's mum imagined only a bike accident, but when they got to the accident scene, they knew a little of the truth. A resuscitation expert who happened to live within earshot of the crash was already working desperately on the boy. As she worked, her long hair hung down, concealing the child's upper body. It was not until she raised her head to flick her hair back that Nigel's mother saw the full extent of his injuries. Half of his head was mutilated, his face covered in blood, his neck unnaturally back. The driver, smelling strongly of alcohol and unscathed in the crash, approached her awkwardly. All he could say was, "Are you his mother? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Then someone tried to hit him and had to be forcibly restrained. Nigel was rushed to the nearest hospital where they worked to revive him for 4 long, soul-destroying hours. Finally, they took his lonely little body to the mortuary. Ages afterwards, his mother wondered, "Where are his clothes? Where are my Nigel's clothes?" They had, of course, been neatly placed in a plastic bag as the little boy was prepared for the autopsy. The funeral director advised Nigel's parents later that he felt it would be best if they did not see him again. It would not be a pleasant sight. And so it was that they buried him. 3 years and 3 court cases later, with further court work to come, they are selling their home, Nigel's home. You see, the week before he was killed, his parents bought a set of bunk beds for Nigel and his 5-year-old brother to share. The little fellow worshipped his big brother. They still have the bunks. The doctors advised to get rid of them, but Nathan won't let them go. Perhaps he has felt that Nigel still slept there with him. Now, at 8, he is suddenly aware of the reality of death and asks, "What did he look like when he died? Why didn't you let me see him?" They did not sell their home at first because they needed the memories of the presence of their firstborn son to be visible to them. His mother literally had to be carried through the door on the evening of the day he died. She needed then to get away from anything which reminded her that he was no longer there. Gone. Nathan needed the security of his home and his school. Thus they've stayed until now. The mother blames the sad, slow decline of her ageing father on Nigel's death. Even when the dear old man, who was very close to the little boys, had become quite senile, he spoke of "my boy Nigel" and wept. A year ago, he passed away too. On the sweeter side, Nigel's classmates each made and wrote a card for his family. Some are decorated with pictures of crosses and others with less obvious, meaningful things, like pianos. Some say, "I hope you feel better soon," and others words like, "Nigel was my second best friend." All those thoughtful cards are deeply treasured. The caring gentleness began at the moment of impact and continues. It began in the shape of friends and relatives and strangers. In particular, 2 burly policemen who stuck with them from the first night, explaining their own views on dying and on through the court cases and the continuing grief. No one, except those who have been helped by them, can tell you how wonderful these people are. The driver who killed Nigel lives nearby, and this is another reason for moving. The mother all too frequently passes him in the local supermarket. She always returns home in a state of shock. She does not hate him, but the sight of him is overwhelming. Her husband did not see him after the trials until 2 months ago. Nigel's father nearly collapsed and had to be assisted walking away. A great anger rose in him. Now he understands why his wife becomes depressed. Will a mother ever recover from the death of a child? Will a father? No. The child is a part of them, and when he dies, so does that piece of them that is him. They are changed. They return to the world. They hide their grieving, for as they say, everyone becomes impatient with them if they continue. No one expects a child to die before a parent. If the death is from disease such as cancer, there is no one to blame. But killed, there is a different anger. There is someone